Globus-enabled systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. So how can you get started using Globus? Anyone can use Globus right now for free to transfer.
I wanna be young again. Tell me you remember when we stayed up late on the weekdays, we were broke. Don't wanna be caught up in all of this, all of the politics, arguments. We feel pain just so we could feel sane. We're alone, and we're losing grip on everything that ever meant anything. I find it kinda hard to fall asleep at night. Some days I really feel strange. Sometimes I think I'm trapped inside of my own mind. Can anybody hear me? Everybody needs to be alone sometimes, but I'm feeling really lonesome. If you're thinking that you can relate tonight, why don't you come over? We'll be fucked. 'Cause we're fucked up together. 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 'Cause I really wanna fall in love, stay in love. I don't wanna cut and run and mess it up. Even if we get hurt, at least we tried to make it work. But we're losing grip on everything that ever meant anything. I find it kinda hard to fall asleep at night. Some days I really feel strange. Sometimes I think I'm trapped inside of my own mind. Can anybody hear me? Everybody needs to be alone sometimes, but I'm feeling really lonesome. If you're thinking that you can relate tonight, why don't you come over? We'll be fucked up together. We'll be fucked up together. Sometimes I think I'm trapped inside of my own mind. Can anybody hear me? Everybody needs to be alone sometimes, but I'm feeling really lonesome. If you're thinking that you can relate tonight, why don't you come over? We'll be fucked up together.
Almost pierced my nose in the bathroom out of spite, 'cause I had to move back home and my mom and I were in a fight, but I just couldn't. Guess I'm not that wild and I don't wanna stay her least favorite only child. Almost crashed my car into a light pole just to say I did it. I don't wanna die, I just want people to think I could have said the next time that they see me, they'll hold me a little tighter and think about how sad it'd be if I wasn't alive anymore. And I know that it's probably selfish and I shouldn't think like that. So what if I do it for attention? Would that really be so bad? 'Cause I'm not gonna do it, just gonna think about it a lot. And I'm not a danger to myself or others, I know it's what it sounds like, but I swear I'm not. I just wanna feel different than what I felt before. And I don't wanna be my mom's least favorite only child anymore. Almost ran away, I packed my car and took the keys just to see if I disappeared, would anyone even look for me? I cut and dyed my hair to try to feel like someone new, but I couldn't escape myself no matter how badly I wanted to. And I know that it's probably selfish and I shouldn't think like that. So what if I do it for attention? Would that really be so bad? 'Cause I'm not gonna do it, just gonna think about it a lot. And I'm not a danger to myself or others, I know it's what it sounds like, but I swear I'm not. I just wanna feel different than what I felt before. And I don't wanna be my mom's least favorite only child anymore. Probably selfish and I shouldn't think like that. So what if I do it for attention? Does that really make me bad? 'Cause I'm not gonna do it, just gonna think about it a lot. And I'm not a danger to myself or others. I know it's what it sounds like, but I swear I'm not. I just wanna feel different than what I felt before, and I don't wanna be my mom's least favorite only child anymore. And I know I should be kinder to my body and my mind, and things are gonna get better if I just give myself more time. I've got the rest of my life to feel different than I do, and being my mom's least favorite only child must mean that I'm her favorite too.
Yo. 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 What up, though? Holy fuck sticks. Like, just holy fuck sticks. Like, it's just a fucking video game, you. Like, holy fuck sticks. Talk about the wizard game. Like, okay, so let's just get into it. So this morning, this dude, Rico Rants, that I follow, busted out a tweet saying something along the lines of, like, you know, it's ineffective, blah, 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 blah. Right, the protests and boycott and whatever, right? Like, and basically, like, putting it out there that, like, you know, that it was actually, like, counterproductive, right? To which I responded, shit ton of other video games available to play. Plot has you put down a slave rebellion. Originally had a Gamergator on staff. All of that before we even get to funding a deplorable human being. But go off, King. They come back with, y'all gonna scrutinize every video game ever made down to who's the janitor on staff now too? Christ. All I'm saying is pick your fucking battles. This one was not worth it getting upset over. No, just the ones that employ Gamergators are associated with one of the most well-known anti-trans personalities whose mid-status quo reinforcing bigoted content sits on a large number of shelves. Sounds like a picked battle. And what did it accomplish exactly? Voting with dollars, put pressure on a variety of people to consider their purchase in support of this product, etc. Is there a specific metric by which you would justify, I guess? I hate it when I see a typo that I made. The success of a protest. judge. You would judge. Changing the minds of politicians who would have otherwise voted against the best interest. Protest work, marching works, town halls work. Boycotts don't usually work even in the best of circumstances. Oh, I agree that changing the minds of politicians would be preferable, but that doesn't preclude the ostracization of people through social means. It's not an either or. The normalization of trans folk through solidarity with them in the social sphere has tremendous value. To which they respond, which is a fair point. I just don't find ostracizing people for playing a video game to be a viable or even remotely good strategy, but that's just me. And I said, I understand. I try to avoid condemning the style of protest of communities that I am not a part of, but that's just me. Which he said also fair. Either way, point taken. I'm bowing out of this discussion, not with you specifically, just as Discord. And I said, fair enough. I enjoy the majority of your takes. Take care. He says, you too. Right? This is a reasonable conversation. I came in a little bit hot, right? But just to get attention. And at no time did I attack him. At no time did I, make him look stupid, make him feel bad, anything else. The problem was the take. And he deleted it. And respect. People are going to fuck up. People might not understand. But you can come correct and help people perceive things from a different point of view. Shout out Professor Q here. Okay, here's my take on Hogwarts Legacy. I think the issue is that impacting legislation is hard. I do encourage people to organize and contact their legislators, contact the press, etc., but a game boycott or choosing not to play a game that was inspired by J.K. Rowling's writings is one thing people are asking for that is something you can do immediately. That, I think, is what folks are asking. There are millions of games out there. They are asking you not to play this one. It is not just performative. The outrage against those asking folks not to play is completely disproportionate to what they are asking. No one is getting canceled. All they are doing is asking you to do this one thing. Reminder, this was a strategy used in the early gay rights movement when Harvey Milk called for a bar boycott of Coors. And it worked because there's other beer out there just as cheap. Same time. I'm on the same time with Professor Q. It is not an either or. There's a weird implication that you can only do one thing. Pressure legislators or pressure people to not support anything around Rowling is wild to me. Some of the people making the takes have truly shocked me. I think a lot of people are so black-pilled that they can't recognize points of praxis when it's right there in front of them. 100%. Is it like, I am not going to play the game where this is like there's a fucking line that you cross and it's like anything down here is just not, but anything up here just is. Like, you do what you fucking can. Not everyone is built to go to a protest. Like, I sat down at this desk at 4:54 because of all the shit that I had to line up today to take care of 3 kids and everything else in my house. There are a lot of people, and I find myself privileged. There are a lot of people who can't do some of the things that need to be done when they need to be done. So they do what they can. And while, I would like to do more, holy fuck, by the end of the week, I am done. I don't have anything else left to give. And listen to people get upset about the fact that their fucking favorite streamer is getting bullied by fucking people over the fucking... Take a fucking stand. Right? I'm fuck nobody. I'm not going to play the fucking wizard game. Easy peasy. I don't give a fuck if it's number 1, number 3, number 278 on Twitch. I give none fucks. Shout out to the one person in chat who actually is here to hear me pop off. Where's my fucking post? Okay. Do you want a fantasy series from an English author that doesn't require you to bend your ethics? Over 41 books, video games, movies, board games, and a non-toxic fandom? Quality writing? Wonderful characters? Rereadable? Fucking Terry Pratchett's Discworld. This is what Matt Walsh looks like without a beard. So I understand why he grew a beard. Still fuck him. I mean, but yeah, this was me. And yeah, I've got trans people in my sphere asking me, or not specifically me, but asking for us to not play the fucking game. No problem. No fucking problem. That's all it takes. It's all it should take. And I don't want to play the fucking game where it's like, oh, no ethical consumption under capitalism. Of course, there's no fucking ethical consumption over capitalism, right? But, like, you can still do fucking something. Like, not play the goddamn game. It's just, people are fucking weird. Yeah. Fuck, I forgot to put myself back in front of the fucking thing. Hi, Greycraft. So yeah. And it's just people's fucking behaviors. It's like, just find another fucking game, right? You want to do a fundraiser? Fundraise off a different goddamn game. You know how many fucking games have come out? If I go to the fucking, if I go to the Twitch, no, that's your fucking job. You tell him, kid. Hold on, I clicked the wrong one. Front page of Twitch. Give me a second and I'll bring it up for you. Here we go. Oop. No. I don't want to hear whatever you're talking about. Especially because some of you fucks are out here playing the goddamn wizard game. Okay. Let's take a quick peek-see, right? Let's take a quick peek-see. Recently released games. You got the Dead Space, I guess it's a remaster or whatever. You got this Hi-Fi Rush, whatever the fuck that is. Hitman video game. One Piece Odyssey, fucking SpongeBob, Forspoken, Deliver Us Mars, Undisputed. There are channels that are running Undisputed 24 hours a day, whatever this Fire Emblem, like, I don't know what half this shit is. But you know what it isn't? Is the goddamn Wizard game. And I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. You can just not play it. So that's it. That's where I come down, clip it, ship it, fucking do whatever. And like, before we even get into the transphobia and everything else from the fucking creator. What, me? No, I don't do the, I don't associate, like, yeah, sorry. Senior moment. How about like that? I kind of went off. Kids today in their goddamn Harry Potter Wizard game. The game, from my understanding, is, I've heard it referred to as unfinished looking, mid, in the game. Part of the plot is that you're putting down a fucking slave rebellion, right? Like, can we just not? I don't, like, fuck, it's so, yeah, maybe it was part of your goddamn childhood or whatever, you know? Like, nostalgia and all that. But I'm literally telling you, okay? Terry Pratchett, Discworld, none of the baggage. My man literally has a book. What was it called? Monstrous Regiment. Monstrous Regiment is the name of the book by Terry Pratchett. It happens in the Discworld, right? And it's not like, a bunch of his books are associated with other books, right? Like, there's my favorite group. There's like 3 different group stories. There's the witches stories. There's the fucking the what you call it, City Watch stories, and then there's the Wizard stories, right? And my personal favorite is the City Watch stories. And there is an appearance by one of the characters later on in the book, but you literally don't have to read anything else by Terry Pratchett to pick up Monstrous Regiment and read it. Like, it is one of his relatively standalone books. And I'm not even going to tell you, like, because part of that would give away the plot, but it clearly defines Terry Pratchett's position on trans rights. That's all I will say about that. Get it from your library, get it from wherever you get your books from, and it's just solid. No issues. Right? Got fucking board games. Right? I got a Discworld board game. I've got literally, with the exception of the last book, because he's dead, the last book that came out after his death, I don't have that one. Everything else related to Discworld, I have. His stuff that's not about Discworld, I'm just not a huge fan of, other than Good Omens, as Maddie mentioned in chat. Hi, Maddie, by the way. Like, Good Omens is amazing. Good Omens, right? You watched the show. You saw David Tennant and the other guy who's also cool, whose name I don't know, fucking doing their thing. It was great. Right? Terry Pratchett hung out with Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman is a tremendous human being. Right? To quote motherfucking Paradigm, we need to make better people famous. It's that simple. That goddamn simple. Now that the blood is up, Michael Sheen. I like him in everything I've seen him in. He's right up there with like Space. I never remember actors' names unless they're like, you know, Benedict Cumberbatch or something weird like that. I do enjoy some Jude Law. The guy, I love David Tennant. Slow down. I'll give you some clues. The one who played Bilbo in the Hobbit movies, the one who played Watson along with Cumberbatch. Martin Freeman. I love Martin Freeman. Right? Yeah, there is, what was that fucking show? Sorry, Greycraft, I wanted to segue into the thing, but I first like Martin Freeman. It's a TV show he was in. You know, like I love him in the fact that he's you know, in Black Panther. Not a confession. Startup. There's a TV show called Startup. I think it's streaming on Netflix at the moment still. There is a scene in Startup where my man is in his car. What up, Igloo? Where my man is in his car and he has an emotional breakdown in his car, and it was one of the most real experiences that like I have had from a TV show. Like I felt that shit. Like, holy fuck, no spoilers. I haven't seen episode 3, but holy fuck is The Last of Us so goddamn good. Like, speaking of feeling stuff, that first episode, 120 minutes, you're lying to me. That felt like fucking 4 hours of content, and I was just like, oh my god. Here's a hot take. BBC Sherlock is not that great. The first season had some writing problems, and those writing problems only got worse each season. It's like, I'm not telling you gotta like it. I like it, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some things that I like, which is hot garbage. There are some things that I like that are quality. You know, not everything you like is going to be like fucking awesome. Like, there are video games that I play or have played in the past which were so janky. Like Inquisitor Martyr is a top down. It's basically not Doom. What's the game? The fantasy game where you walk around. It's like top down, not top down, but like that 3/4 view, and everybody loved it. You get 4 players. You go in, you do shit, you pick up a lot of fucking gear. Diablo, Inquisitor Martyrs, like Diablo, but in the 40K universe. And that game was janky as hell, but it was fun, right? Like, getting together with 3 of my friends, rocking out on some fucking Inquisitor Martyr was fun. It literally, like, if you had a bunch of people firing off their shit at the same time, the game would turn into a slideshow, and it was a fucking mess. But, you know, but I loved it, right? So, yeah, and that's the thing. A show, like Z Nation. Z Nation is a show which is kind of hot garbage, right? Especially like in the mid seasons. But I enjoyed it, right? Like the Alien Predator series. Some of the movies are, janky as shit. Some of the movies are like not, like the later movies fuck with the mythology of the early. I love Blacks. That's actually why I watch Z Nation, because it took place in the same universe, right? But Black Summer is top tier, the best goddamn zombie show, movie, anything. I don't care. It is top tier. I guess Last of Us is going to surpass it. Because technically it is a zombie show, right? Even though it's a little bit different, but I'm not gonna say anything because you should watch it. So now that we fucked around for a while and I went from being, rah 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 to happier, Greycraft, if you wanna jump into any of the voice channels in my Discord, and I will drag you into interview. What up, Grumpy? Like, for real, Grumpy. I need you to learn me on some CK3. Like, I only play it for fun. I play it on low difficulty. I don't give a shit. I'm not here to fucking speed run max difficulty. I just want to do some map painting, but like every time, my fucking dude dies and everything goes to shit. Whoop. No. We're going down here. Whoa. Why can't I get Greycraft into the interview? Is it working now?
Okay, there I am.
There he is.
I just saw the button. Press OK. Join this. Okay.
Okay. You're not streaming right now, right?
No, sir.
Okay. So then people don't have to see my face on your end.
I mean, if they did, it would just be nothing but beard. Jesus Christ, man.
All beard all day.
By the way, is this, I've always wanted to ask, is this like a live feed of like, this isn't a live feed, is it, like in the background?
No, this is, let me just, okay, this is, Jesus Christ, I am a boomer as fuck. This is, it's like a 10-hour loop from the ISS. It's only like about an hour long. So usually, or maybe even 45 minutes. So you see it a couple of times over the course. Maybe even less, now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, it's just recorded, and then they made it 10 hours because that's what people do on YouTube and like that.
Hell yeah. I like it.
Yeah, no, it goes along with the old man yells at clouds motif, and the other thing is, if you try to run a live feed, now I'm using bandwidth coming into the house, I'm using bandwidth going back out of the house, and then you just eat up all your bandwidth. And I have other people who are using my goddamn bandwidth, so.
Gotcha.
So, this is our first time chatting.
Yeah, I see you in Paradigm's chat all the time. Top tier mod here that I'm talking to. Absolutely.
So you want to introduce yourself to the people? We got a few people in chat, but people seem to enjoy my VOD, so shout yourself out.
Absolutely. My name is Greycraft, GREYECRAFT. You can find me here on Twitch. Talk far left politics. We talk a little bit of like, I guess divergent or alternative spirituality at times. Memes. We love memes. Yeah, usually the first half of stream is all politics and serious and shit, and the second half is just me shit talking and yelling at video games. It's pretty basic, but it works. It works. Something. I also have a YouTube. I don't know. I've been kind of shitty with it the past couple months, but I do have a YouTube. No longer have a Twitter. Thank you, Elon. I really appreciate it.
And do you have a schedule on which you usually stream, or like is it
usually every Friday? It's usually because like I only stream like once a week usually, so I try to make those like really fucking long. They could be 10, 12, 14 hours at a time, but yeah, usually every Friday.
Okay. So one of the things that came up when you were talking with it didn't really come up. It was a subject that you guys were going to touch on, but then you veered off into all sorts of stuff because you usually have like a Friday conversation with Talorx and Paradigm, and you were going to touch on transhumanism, and didn't really get an opportunity to do that, but like that's right in line with the AI and stuff. And like 2 weeks ago, I talked about transhumanism. And like that. So like why don't you give us your definition of what transhumanism is as you understand it?
Fuck. Let me see here. Well, I mean, I believe it's a common consensus at this point among transhumanists. There's like 3 pillars to it, right? There's super intelligence, super longevity, and super well-being, I believe are the 3. And that these are the ultimate goals, I guess, of transhumanism. Through the exponential advancement of like science, medicine, technology, things like this, that basically, if not all, most human problems can be conquered by these things. And I mean, even as someone who's a little bit, I guess, a bit of a theist, but like a philosophical, shamelessly unorthodox theist, I think that transhumanism is also key to the even spiritual enlightenment, depending on how you use it. I mean, transhumanism, I think, it's innate to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we've always been transhumanists. It's just, how did that manifest? Did it manifest with spears that we sharpened to hunt mammoths and shit, or into iPhones? You know, like it's always been there with us. I think it's pretty human to have this relationship we have with technology. Yeah.
So you feel that it's the application of technology that is that is as a departure from what most people understand as evolution, which is just, your random biological functions and whatever is most effective at eking out its existence within the whatever ecological niche it can get into. You think that our technology is actually a functional part of our evolution, in that when we go forward, now that we have achieved this level of technology, that, like, for instance, if we were to go to like a robotic form, you would still consider that a human evolution?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a part of, I think it's good. I think at the trajectory that we're currently going, unless like the climate crisis decides to destroy us all, it's an inevitable endpoint, that we reach that singularity of post-human. Now, do I think that there's still elements of humanity that will carry with us? I mean, it really depends on your definition of what human is. I mean, human in comparison to any alien species from any fictional works. I mean, I would hope that we we stay like that specific species that we've always been, you know. But I mean, we've changed the definition many times throughout history. At least I think so. You know, I think it just really depends on the application. Yeah. Yeah.
You said earlier that you think that the technology can resolve a bunch of the issues that we have. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Well, I mean, that depends on nowadays or what we could see in the future, right? I mean, like there are many things that we've already conquered through the use of technology. I mean, look at vaccines, you know. I mean, hopefully you don't get any anti-vaxxers in the chat or anything, but I mean, vaccines are a testament to that. And I think that as we go on, you know, maybe like kind of like Star Trek, they had the flip thing, and now there were flip phones, and now there were iPods, and then we have the touch screen. You know what I'm saying? Like these things were fiction at one point. Lightsabers were fiction at one point, and the dude on fucking YouTube decided to make a prototype out of it. And it's almost the real fucking deal. You know, I think at some point, nanomachines that are considered as fictional could become something more real. And that, you know, for instance, I was kind of joking with my chat about nanomachines and like how, you know, like I smoke cigarettes and shit. Like, hopefully within my lifetime, we'll come up with nanotechnology and I won't suffer lung cancer, you know. I won't need those medical bills, you know. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think the unfortunate thing is I don't think these things are going to be a thing within our lifetime. And but I do think that they are inevitable at some point. It just depends on how seriously we take the potential of controlling our own evolution, which I think is another aspect. Really, I think that's the core aspect of it. Is like we've been subject to nature this entire time, and I think that the way that we've always been, the way that we are at the fundamental level, is a need to be able to self-determine, right? And so if we were to grasp evolution and have the way that we progress as a species be on our timetable rather than the cosmos, well, I don't know. I personally think that that's based as fuck and is fundamental again to who and what we are.
Now, you brought up as an example there, you know, anti-vaxxers in chat, right? Like, and couldn't you also look at that though as an example of how the technology doesn't resolve those issues? That there are fundamental issues related to how we perceive each other, how we interact with society, our politics, all the things that the technology, in fact, doesn't, you know, the technology itself, without some change in philosophy behind it, doesn't actually fix those problems, right? Like we got measles, we've got, I heard smallpox, you know, like coming back, right? Like none of that should exist because we've fixed those, right? But we didn't because of these different philosophies that people have and of these religions and things like that and how people interact with it. Do you see that like as a possible counter to what you're saying?
I mean, yes and no. Like I see what you mean, and I agree. It's unfortunate. Like I mean, kind of like you just said with like measles and smallpox. Like we did fix these things, but then there comes in the force of our people going to do their part when it comes down to fixing it. You know, yeah, no, I think I don't know. I think a part of it. that's why I said if not all, most problems, because unfortunately there are things like culture, and there are things that come with that, such as like we've seen the past few years, rampant disinformation, and alternative facts. Their belief is more important than truth. All these things. They are definitely a barrier between where we were yesterday, where we are today, where we could be tomorrow, if people just fucking fell in line, as for lack of a better term, and just like did their part. Now there are ideas I could come up with to like solve that technologically, but that's completely speculative. Like, I have this book that I've been on and off writing about, where one of the um, story arcs is this development of a neural implant, and this implant was supposed to like basically electrically stimulate the pineal gland, and on like a remote control access, like global scale, activate this electrical stimulation in everyone's pineal gland and release all the dimethyltryptamine in there in every human being that has this implant all over the world, force a psychedelic experience, and then everyone kind of like get the bigger picture, so to speak. And the goal of this character was basically like, I'm hoping to bring about some kind of semblance of world peace through this global psychedelic experience, and let's just say it doesn't work out that way. But this is completely fictional, but what if, right? What if? And I think that's pretty much the spearhead of any transhumanist enterprise is what if, and should we? And that's brought us to where we're at now. And I think culturally, like we see culture changing all the time. I mean, gay marriage, for example, was not really smiled upon a couple decades ago, and now we're looking at 70 to 80% people accept it and embrace it and support it. So unfortunately, it's one of those things where you just got to give time.
First, let me preface the entire thing by saying that I'm personally, I'm on the same with you. Like, I have no personal attachment to this physical form. If they could suck out my brain and stick it in a robot body, and I could just consume, whatever materials are run on fusion and just go everywhere and do everything, I absolutely would. This is like, I don't have that, whatever that apparently the vast majority of human beings do, this attachment to their physical self. But at the same time, I look at things like okay, so you're a leftist. Our great enemy is capitalism. If you don't solve the riddle of capitalism before you do things like adding in, implants and nanomachines, what is to prevent, you can have the nanomachines or you can have the neural implant, but now you're on a subscription service, right? And if it's something that you feel is vital to life, like the nanomachines, now is your indentured servitude / slavery, right?
I mean, like, this is where the whole, like, like no wonder motherfuckers, whenever it comes down to like advanced technology and the continuing advancement of it, they immediately go the Matrix or Skynet from Terminator,
Right.
and it's like, it's valid. I'm not going to sit, I mean, one thing, like, those things like involve, correct me if I'm wrong, like AI becoming rampant, but like, I also think that like those things could absolutely come about because of a prioritization over human lives, that being money and capital and power and maintaining an unjust hierarchy. I mean, for fuck's sake, dude, it sounds like some lost episode of Captain Planet or something. The concept of like some billionaire shit fuck oligarch, you know, creates this, oh, it's going to be a great achievement for humankind. And it's like, everyone's like, yeah. And objectively it is,
Right.
except the way that they use it. And like, they end up like, but the girl, go back to this book that I'm writing. So and this doesn't spoil anything. No one's going to remember it anyways whenever I come out with it. But the thing that happens is that you have this crazy Christian fundamentalist cult that ends up taking this implant that I told you about earlier, and they reverse engineer it to make everyone hallucinate the second coming of Christ and institute a theocracy from it. That's what ends up happening. Of course that would happen. Of course. Like, we had January 6th. Like, of course motherfuckers would take something like this and use it to their advantage. Yeah, no. Again, like, I think stuff like this, kind of like with what's his name? The guy who invented insulin but didn't patent it.
Oh yeah,
I forget his name.
But
yeah, like, you know, he $0, like, I don't, you know, or he sold it for $1 or something like that. It was like,
right.
this should be available to everyone. And then look what came of that. That would absolutely, or could happen with things like nanomachines, things like neural implants, cybernetic augments, you know, really. And we kind of touched on this a little bit with the panel with Talarex and Paradigm, where the only way that something like this would be able to successfully and cohesively be implemented to where the least amount of harm, if any, is done is, again, if the democratic seizure of the means of production happens prior, because you're going to end up getting all of those plot points that I listed from before.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other hand is that if this were to happen, on the other hand, you know, hopefully we'd have collective funding, collective manufacturing, you know, and everyone's got a stake in it. And no one's really economically or resource-wise lording anything over anyone else. And it's accessible to everyone equally. And then we all kind of move up the evolutionary food chain, if you will, together, rather than through a bullshit, unjust hierarchy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, you know, I don't disagree. Like, if you, so one of the things that I've talked about on previous episodes is how I feel like capitalism is very resilient. It is very adaptive. Them that has the power are very good at continuing to hold on to the power. But the current industrial revolution of AI and automation has basically, previous industrial revolutions have eliminated some worker jobs but created new worker jobs. And in the current industrial revolution, that's not happening, right? We have automated ourselves in a direction to where we are not going to create all these new jobs that previous ones have. And this is not just something that affects, you know, the workers, but actually, like, people are talking about, you know, AI CEOs and, you know, like automating automated cops, automated delivery people, automated you know, whatever, managers, CPAs, lawyers, right? You know, you just had an AI pass the bar. So, like...
Wait, hold on. Wait, what?
Yeah. It was in a video I played yesterday. In my Discord, I keep a record of everything I've ever shown on here. So if you go to videos from stream, you can find the video where they talk about that. So yeah, we are... you know, like, we have robots capable of doing surgery and so on and so forth. Like, we are up against that kind of thing where, like, there's only so much automation you can do before you reach a tipping point where you just don't have enough people to buy your products, and your actual money becomes valueless because no one has any. You know,
Mhm.
so like either you have a handful of billionaires ruling over AI and robots, or something has to change within the system, right? Um, and I mean, it is possible that with the adaptive nature of capitalism and everything else, that it could find its way to eliminating minimum wage laws and, worst case scenarios like that, where we are now fighting each other to make pennies a day, to cart away the master's shit. But maybe not. Like you said, I don't know that it's going to happen within our lifetime, but I feel like we're really close to a huge sea change, bigger than any that we've run into before. What do you think about that?
I 100% agree. Yeah. I mean, so like anytime things like space or technology or anything like that, like I'll give you an example because of like how much it gets me excited. I remember watching this video, you might have seen it, of like a war vet who got his arm blown up by an IED, and he got an augment put on there instead. And I don't know exactly the intricacies of how it works, but I guess it's connected to his nerves or something, to where like he can feel this is plastic on the handle of a hairbrush, this is a paper towel, like through an artificial arm. He can feel texture.
Mm.
It's really fucking amazing. As excited as I get for transhumanist enterprise and like where we could go next, there are things about it that nonetheless absolutely scare the shit out of me. You said AI cops, and I almost shit my pants.
Mm-hmm.
The bar exam, that there are certain things like surgery. That's a different thing. Like I like the thought of precision in life-saving measures, but when it comes down to systems that could absolutely be twisted and distorted to serve the ruling class, essentially, yeah, that's something that needs a barrier to it. I think that, there are several changes to the system as a whole that we would need to implement before anything like the singularity or whatever happens. But specifically things like law enforcement, things like the law and legislation, yeah, those things should not, quite frankly, should be, I would say, illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Just the implications of what could happen in those domains is just no. No, fucking no, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've seen the thing about the robot dogs in like New York City and San Francisco or LA.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
so, like,
it's absolutely some fucking Escape from New York, fucking Blade Runner shit, man. Like, no. Yeah, fuck that.
I mean, we are up against it, so it's like, like people have to do people stuff in order to prevent, this kind of thing from happening. Because otherwise, like, we will go that way. There's no two ways about it at this point. Because they take what you call it, like, silence is permission. So shout out to all the people in New York, in LA, and San Francisco who were, protesting robot dogs, but it's that kind of stuff is going to happen. But even right there, we don't, like, as leftists, we do not like the police union, right? And we regard them as not a real union because police are class traders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
However, there is a point of view that I can take regarding the police union where that is in its own way an example of a highly successful union, right? Exercising its political will in order to protect its members and things like that. If like all unions were on the same level as a police union, then there would be far more workers' rights in this country. Like we'd be closer to France than we are, you know.
Right. Which, speaking of which, just real quick, I don't mean to derail it too much, but like, I fucking didn't even know what was going on in France till like fucking 2 weeks ago. That shit is insane.
Yeah, no, the French, gotta love them, like, because the French, you know, like they know how to protest. They know how to, you know, fight for their rights. What happened over there in the French Revolution, what happened over here in the American Revolution, were two entirely different kinds of revolution, you know. And even though the French Revolution got weird at the end, like there's a philosophy that remained with the people that they're not going to give an inch, you know, like they want to add 2 years to the retirement age. They just go out in the street. Some other shit happens and the firemen set themselves on fire and fight cops. It is a thing to behold. But like, okay, so the robot dogs, right, imply a robot police force, you know, like the Atlas robot from Boston Dynamic implies robot soldiers, which is clearly what the military would prefer, right? Like I've spoken about this. There's no casualties, no American casualties, which is all that Americans tend to care about, the government and the military and everything else. It doesn't matter if 500,000 Iraqis die, it's the 7,000 Americans who died that's the problem, right? But you could have a completely automated police force in cities in a relatively short amount of time. And the one of the strongest bulwarks to that would be the police union. So, like at that point, do we come down on the side of the police to you know, do we want the humans to oppress us or do we want the robots to?
So preferably neither. I mean, I guess it would turn from ACAB to Arab, right? Like, you know, all robots are bastards or something. Robots. Which I just realized that. Oh, never mind.
Yep. You walked into it, but we moved on.
But oh man, yeah. No, I don't know, man. Like I said, there's a lot of things to this whole subject, man. That like, I mean, I don't know. I've thought about it for a while, and I know that like that again that there are certain things that we need barriers. Legislatively backed. This is off the table. This can't happen. Sort of barriers. What every single sector of where those barriers would be attached to, I have no clue. But yeah. I mean, preferably like we just completely just disintegrate and restructure law enforcement as we know it first, and the way that the law operates, and get rid of systemic racism at a systemic level, and dissolve the ruling class before we implement anything like this. But obviously they're not going to. You know, to be quite frank, and you mentioned the military. Okay, listen, there are very few conspiracies that I believe in these days. I used to be an Alex Jones guy. Like I was, Jesus Christ.
I was a hunt the Boeing loose change guy back after 9/11. So.
Oh yeah, no shit. Yeah, but there's something sussy, man, when it comes down to. You know, yeah, we're thinking about doing this legislation and this, that, you know, this, and you know, some of these things are really populist and may even bolster workers' right. You know, military budget just continuously increasing, and like I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, what the fuck are they doing with this money, man? And like that was a thought that came to mind, was like, are they developing super soldiers? Are they genetically modifying people? Are they like, you know, exoskeletons or I don't know, man. there's something about the military that definitely makes me think, especially in the increasingly technological and advanced era that we live in now, that makes me think that they're probably doing something like that. Yeah, I no, I don't, I really don't know. Like I said, law enforcement, systemic racism, oligarchy, military industrial complex, capitalism as a whole, all of these things, they need either heavy revisions or completely dissolved and rebuilt from the ground up before we even introduce anything like this to the broader public.
Mm-hmm. But first off, that's not a conspiracy theory. I can't say that genetic engineering is happening, but like the other stuff you're talking about with like exoskeletons and things like that, they are absolutely doing that. Like Elon Musk is a military contractor, right? Like if you look at something like Starlink as a form of internet for the mass public usage is almost useless, right? Like it doesn't beat out any of the current available options. What it is good at is you can deploy it for a amount of time quickly, right? So imagine you get into a conflict zone, you drop a bunch of Starlinks over the top of it, and now you have the connectivity in order to run your robot army, and there's nothing the opposition can do about it. It'd be very difficult to shoot down the Starlink satellites because they're all very small, So when you think about things like that, no, those are things that are actually happening. Like I assume with things like CRISPR that there's a portion of the military budget that's devoted to trying to make better soldiers, but for real, they are definitely would prefer to just abandon the human beings altogether and replace it with automation. Again, because of casualties. The U.S. military and the U.S. government learned the lesson of Vietnam was casualties, right? Every war that has happened after that has had fewer and fewer casualties, and then the casualties that they do get are often like injuries where, like you said, the person loses an arm with an IED, legs, things like that. If they could just eliminate that altogether, like the vast majority of Americans wouldn't care if we dropped a robot army into a foreign country, like because nobody personally would be dying. No Americans would be dying. Now, this isn't to say that Americans are particularly heartless. It's just we live under a particular kind of capitalism which eliminates a lot of our options to give a shit, right? Like you just don't have time to give a shit, because if you take time to give a shit, then your local people are going to fucking starve to death, right? Like if you don't get up and go to work, your people are going to suffer, and you care more about your local people, and like that. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent, but
no, you're good. Yeah. The other thing that I've considered that so again I'm very much an ecstatic and proud transhumanist. I'm hoping for the singularity, but there are those few things that maybe not deter me, but definitely kind of a little bit, And one of the things that again, it briefly came up in that panel, but I mean, what do we already get with computers? I mean, there are hackers, there are viruses, there is malware. Now imagine that as part of your body. I mean, we can say what we want about the bourgeois and how they would weaponize it against poor people and any revolutionary sentiment, but the Lupenpressen, or not Lupenpressen, Lupen proletariat. Those that the thieves, the the class traders, you name it, they're out for themselves. I got to get mine syndrome. And next thing you know, you're I don't know, you've got 2 robot legs or something. It's 2112 or something. You got 2 robot legs. It's a normal thing. And you're on your way to your financing job or something. You're a big time money guy. And next thing you know, like your legs shut down and you're barely crawling, like, because it's probably heavy as fuck too.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, shit, what the fuck just happened? Oh, somebody just hacked your shit and drained your entire bank account. Good luck. Better
Right.
get to a doctor. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of different implications to becoming to that merge with the machine that scares the fucking shit out of me. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we're talking about ideals. We're talking about what would an ideal situation be, and it would be because you could resolve the problem of the hacker thief type person. Not to before I get in trouble with like any of my hacker folks, is like we're talking about the bad ones, not the good ones.
Right.
But like the elimination of need, the socialist utopia, then that allows us to do those kind of things, because then there's no business guy going to do the business stuff. There's no need for the hacker to hack the business guy. Like, we eliminate those needs on the front end. And like that is one of the reasons why, like, I don't agree that the technology can solve the problems, but the desire to have the technology could motivate us to solve the problems, right? It's definitely the problems with the people need to be resolved first. Like, because you can see it today, like the Seinfeld AI that they had on, right? Like, and it went from 0 to bigot in a weekend. And it wasn't the fault of the AI. The AI did nothing wrong. Like, this is my next piece of merch I'm going to add to my merch stores. The AI did nothing wrong. It's the people, right? The data set that they fed it was what led to that situation. So if you have problems with the people, you need to fix the people, which is a dark, like, people are going to call me an authoritarian, but like, benevolent fix the people kind of thing, right?
Right. I mean, it's funny you say that, because like I think that, I mean, do I know the intricacies of how this could be possible? Not necessarily. I'd have to think about it a little bit longer. But like a benevolent dictator is not an out of this world far fetched thing. Like, I mean, so be it if it happens to be at the benefit of humankind. But I think the AI thing, like, what all it's doing when it comes down to these crazy, like there was that whole thing where it's like that one AI was revealed to like have racist tendencies, and then like the thing you're referring to with the AI Seinfeld thing, like, it didn't say something transphobic or something.
Correct.
Right. So like, kind of like you said, all it's doing is like, I am AI, I am observing what humans think is funny, insert funny. And like, oh, really what it's doing is kind of revealing how fucked up we are.
100%.
So maybe, like, when that's the thing about it too, man, is that like, you go, I mean, you go, I can't, but you go with the Twitter to a comment section underneath someone who's trans, and like fucking 8 times out of 10, you're gonna get some motherfucker with like probably on their 5th account, following Elon, sucking his dick constantly, and they just put like a self-destructed trans Wojak underneath there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, where do you think this AI is getting the data from, bro? Like, it's getting it from y'all. And like, the funny thing is that the same motherfuckers who will probably, you know, like, oh, the lids are getting, you know, they're having a meltdown over X, Y, or Z. It's like, bro, the AI is learning it from you, man. It's pointing out the problems that we've been pointing out. It just manifested in an unexpected way, and now here we are. You're 100% correct that like culture has to change. The culture needs. I almost said trans, but you know what? We'll go with that. We need to trans the culture. You know, we need to transcend it.
Right.
And you know, I don't know how exactly we do that without drastic measures, we'll say, because it seems like the biggest issues when it comes down to advancing our species forward as a whole towards a good result, the only thing that's in the way of that are these fucks that I can't believe I'm about to make a blanket statement like this, but I mean, I can't help but to think it's true that these are sociopathic fucks who take amusement out of other people's suffering. And that maybe it's a lot more common than we give it credence. I mean, I did a whole video on this, not to like blow smoke up my own ass, but when the 4th of July shooter happened last year, and all this information came out about Robert, where he was on this Discord server called the SS, and it was not just QAnon stuff. It was like, no, there are reptilian archons who are doing this, that, or the other on the cosmic scale, and they're gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like the most out there conspiracy theories, you know, that you can come up with. And this guy was subscribed to those types of thoughts, those beliefs. Now you just augment those and enhance those beliefs, so to speak, and we could have a fucking catastrophe. So I mean, we talked about the bourgeois, we've talked about law enforcement, we've talked about black hat hackers. I could only imagine domestic terrorism.
You're not wrong. Like with the about that there are people who are, you know, through a given lens, you know, we could refer to them as sociopathic, right? Like we don't want to paint, you know, necessarily with a broad brush as such and armchair, you know, people like that. But at the same time, it's like there are, like, even your best therapist, right? Like, is theraping you to get back out there into the capitalism, right? Because the capitalism is the environment. And it's one of those things, is like, why don't we as leftists, you know, like liberals? Now, I think I like liberals more than your average leftist, but only because they're ideologically as close to us, as opposed to like conservatives. But we don't like them because they don't want to put capitalism on the table. They don't want to put the system on the table to have a discussion about. And this is what it comes down to, is like, we need to be able to put everything on the table, take what is good, remove what is bad, and, you know, what works for people, what doesn't, what helps people, what doesn't, and things like that. And until we get to that point, like, and everybody go to therapy, you know, it's like everybody needs therapy because everyone is suffering under forms of anxiety. If you are alive in America, you have PTSD and you have anxiety. Guarantee it. You know, it's just the nature of the world that we live in. And without putting those things on the table and making those course corrections, we are just going to continue to do this. And like you said, that leads us to a very dark place should we advance too far into the technology without resolving those issues? Now, the question, not to get too far into the politics and veer too far away from the robots, but like, is it possible to change direction without some form of, revolution as has been done in the past? Twitch, we're speaking purely like mind exercises and philosophy. This is neither of us is calling for any of that shit. Because right now I think we would fucking lose, right? Like we as leftists would be up against the wall. But is it possible, is there a way to get out of this without that?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. Twitch is just a hypothetical. Calm the fuck down, it's fine.
We're just talking.
But as a mind exercise, well, I mean, it's kind of like I talk about on my channel, where like, if ironically enough, in comparison to a lot of to what a lot of anti-fascists will say, I think that the most efficient form of anti-fascist action is to put liberals second. Like I think that shit, I just totally had a brain fart. What was your last question? I'm sorry.
Is it possible to, because we need a tremendous sea change in how we interact with each other and with the world, and can we do that without some form of, violent revolution?
Right, revolution. That was where I don't know why I lost that. Yeah, no. So I've said this before and I'll say it again. Like the thing is that, in this heavily surveilled police state that we live under, pressing the revolution button is not an option. Like you said, like it's not. We would lose. And I honestly, losing is probably the worst, or probably the least of our worries. Like the worst part about it would be they could absolutely paint us any way they wanted at that point. And then we'd have to wait through another Red Scare, 2 Electric Boogaloo, and more anti-left propaganda, and who knows how much more worse it could get at that point. So it's like, it's either now or never to be patient for a revolution, and make sure that we play our cards right, because we might not get another chance. I think that we should keep on going when it comes down to what we're doing now. I think what we're doing is working to a certain degree. And I think that like some of the retaliation, I don't know what other word to use for it, but some of the pushback that we're getting are really just the death throes of a dying ideology. And they know it. They know it, or else they wouldn't feel the need to go to drastic measures in order to make sure to protect their traditionalism, to protect their gender norms, to protect their, well, I'm not racist, but I think that black people should yada yada, like in order to protect the unjust hierarchies, they got to resort to these things, and even in some of their manifestos that they write, they admit to it, maybe not the exact language. So, I think it's really the same answer that I have when it comes down to like the whole men's issues discourse that happened not too long ago, where my answer to that, and that the best frontline action as far as being pro-feminism is concerned is raising better boys for future generations, right? We need to raise future generations better in general when it comes down to a lot of these things. And that, we have to push for fucking your critical race theory. We have to push for the 1619 Project. We have to push for criticisms and explanations and studies into whatever economic model. We need education and learning and a desire to learn and embody the truth, whatever that might be, because it's the truth and that's beyond our fucking opinions, right?
Mhm.
That has to be number one priority. And if that isn't at the forefront of everyone's very consciousness, we're not going to get very far. We're probably not even going to see that singularity because it's all just going to fall apart. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I don't want to black pill anyone or anything, but like, we're not going to get very far if we don't basically make sure that from the get-go, we have Gen Z, or I think Gen Alpha is after them, and whatever generation is after that, and just continue this trend of no progressivism, no civil and human rights, no compassion and empathy. Without these things, whatever technologies, whatever advancements to medicine and science that we come up with will only end up being used and weaponized for more nefarious and malevolent purposes. Again, I could not imagine something like the Tops Market shooting happening if the guy was part fucking cyborg. You know what I mean? Like, because this is gonna be fucked up, but like, that's gonna happen again. It's gonna happen again. I don't know where. I don't know how many are going to be the resulting victims, but it's going to happen again. And if we don't nip it in the butt now and make sure that we prevent that by raising good people, it's just going to keep on getting worse. And as far as revolution goes, like on a systemic level, on a nationwide, international, fuck that, international level, like, I'll just say this. In AA, as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, we have this saying, and we always say it to newcomers when they come in. You have one thing to change, and that's everything. If we don't change everything, whatever singularity that comes will be a travesty. It might even be our final nail in the coffin, because we will fuck it up for the rest of us.
I would tend to agree, like that the revolution, like anyone who is calling for like a violent revolution, insurgency, anything else like that, they're basically LARPing at this point because they're not aware of the material conditions. And any good leftist needs to understand material conditions. And I also agree with the raising better humans, and I think that is something that we, like, social media and the the attention economy and many of our heroes and avatars on the internet, all the caveats and crime bunnies to go along with that, have a very adversarial relationship with the opposition in any given scenario, like whether that person is a liberal or a conservative or a goddamn Nazi. And that I think that we need to excuse me, dial back into our empathy and our compassion and understand the material conditions of a lot of these people and the frameworks under which they grew up, so that we can meet them where they are, find those points of connection, like where we are similar rather than different, and use those to leverage the theory into them. It's like there's a reason why a conservative Republican voting dude from a small town is a conservative Republican voting dude from a small town. Like that is a Gremlo, for instance, is a very rare bird who just is a leftist in the communities that he has grown up in. Those don't come often. It is more like you are taught from the day you are born by your environment and the people within it. Um, and I think that there needs to be more of that. We need to proselytize and evangelize these concepts in a way that can be consumed by people, and therefore when we eventually get to the singularity, because I agree, like we are unless something wipes us out, we are going to get there. Like there is just a continuing progression of technology, but there's a strong case for you and I being like, have you ever seen fuck, I had it and it went away. Not Heinlein, Stranger in a Strange Land. You ever read that, see the movies or anything? I think it's Stranger in a Strange Land. It's either that one or the other one. But it's basically you had the people who lived in the cities who took the soma and were blissfully happy, but they also like had to live under some really arbitrarily weird rules. And then you had a bunch of people who lived outside the city who were like much more rustic and just, doing their thing. And I feel like that kind of division will exist in like more. Have you ever seen Elysium?
No, I've been wanting to, but no.
You need more movie nights, man.
I do. Yeah.
Elysium, you had, the rich people lived in the satellite and the poor people lived on the earth. And like, we are going to need those human connections to do the thing. The revolution is going to be long, slow, quiet, not televised, all that kind of stuff. Like it'll be loud in the sense that we can say whatever we want as we do on these. I mean, we're on an Amazon platform talking socialism,
Right.
like that is weird. Brave New World. Thank you. That's the one. So like this shouldn't exist, but it does because capitalism will commodify anything. Lenin said, the capitalists will sell you the rope. I think that we are going to need to maybe invest more in our humanity in order to become transhuman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that there there was something I thought of earlier too, when you were talking about shit. Oh wait, there it is. I had to look for it for a second. Yeah, no, I think there is one hope that I have when it comes down to the transhumanist dream. And like for instance, there is a potential where what if I think this is something I was talking with one of my chatters about afterwards, after the panel, where if there was a neural implant, right? And sure, we got the bourgeois, we've got your Elon Musks, your Jeff Bezos, whatnot, but I think about it this way, where it's like if there was like something to where we had that we could access and immediately, like just like with a computer, download information, right? So what's a good example?
The Matrix. I know Kung Fu.
Well, that too, but in a more real world sense, I'm a transphobe bigot, right? And I don't think that's right, or yada yada, and I have this implant. Okay, so someone challenges me, okay? Like let's say this is like a normal thing, okay? Someone challenges me and they're like, okay, well, you got this implant. You literally could just download information on what being transgender is like. Look it up, sweaty. Google it, and so what if he does? He downloads this information, and it changes his mind. Because like I feel like at that point that's the only buffer. there are several different buffers when it comes down to Googling it, right?
Mhm.
You got to go to Google. You got to put in keywords. But these keywords, if you put in any kind of biased language, you're going to get a biased article. So you need to put down neutral language. Well, they're probably not going to do that. That's another buffer. And then they're sifting through different links and well, okay, hold on. If there was information that is, it's peer reviewed, the scientific community has a consensus on it, and yada yada yada. This is an established fact or well-credited theory or what have you with any subject. You can download the fundamental fucking info on it, right? So it's like that. If it's like that, that's just one buffer. It's just download it, and then there you go. You have the information. If it's like that, and that's my hope, this person receives this information, and now they have two choices. They accept the information, they learn from it, their intelligence increases, and they become a better person out of learning this new information. Or they say it's the Jews. It's one of those two choices. You can't really. There's not really anything else you can do. I think no matter what, there's always going to be some kind of cultural divide. There's always going to be some kind of, kind of like I just joked about. There's always going to be something that they're going to point to and be like, oh, that's what they want you to think, But I mean, generally speaking, like with the vaccine shit, you have all of these people who took vaccines. We saw the results of them, many different results, and a lot of them, most of them, 99.99999% of them were good results. And then you have these guys who were the anti-vaxxers. They're the minority. So it's like, I think either way, it'll be a good thing. And people will, I'm trying to think of a good way to put it other than subscribe to it, But basically, and I think if there was something like that in the future, that'll prove beneficial, and that maybe even this might even make this whole conversation moot at that point. Hopefully. But yeah, I don't know. I think that there are possibilities waiting for us to discover them, like that.
The fundamental flaw, though, right there, is that the person who is the transphobic bigot is also the person who isn't getting the vaccines because Bill Gates' 5G implant kind of thing, right? Like, so you're not going to get that person to put that thing in their body, in spite of the fact of them carrying around a cell phone which does everything that they're concerned that, the implant is going to do. But yeah, like on the access to information, like I'm annoying to my friends at this point, because when somebody says I think blah 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 blah, and it's important enough to discuss, it's like you literally have a device in your fucking pocket. Don't think, no, Google that shit. So, it would be better if we had that on tap, and lowering friction is always the best. But I have to come back to the fact that the transphobic bigot isn't getting the implant.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other thing that's kind of connected to that, but not entirely, but kind of, they're like, first of all, trans rights.
Trans rights.
To me, there are a few different reasons why trans people get me excited, to be quite frank. Not just because, again, trans rights, just on basic, like, they deserve to be treated like people, right? Because they are people.
Right.
But I also kind of look at trans people as like, holy shit, they might be the key to all of this that we're talking about. If I think about it for a little bit, it's like trans people are really just mind blowing, just from a scientific, outside looking in kind of perspective, where it's like, we're talking about people who do not feel comfortable in their bodies as they come out from birth, right?
Mhm.
They look in the mirror, they are different from what they see.
Mhm.
So let's change it,
Mhm.
you know? And like I don't know, it's just from like it comes off to me as like almost that frontier that if we get past it, there's this whole like not dialogue tree, but tree of like different scientific discoveries that could come from this if we just stop killing them
Mhm.
and stop discriminating and just like let them be. And like that's the other thing that like just always bogs my mind when it comes down to transphobes is that like just listen, agree with it, disagree with it, whatever. From a scientific point of view, you cannot deny that it is fucking intriguing
Mhm.
and that it should be studied, you know? So, like, just from that point of view, like, trans people really, like, give me such an excited hope for the future, let alone everything else, and like, just some of the wonderful interactions I have with them, you know? Um, and I think that the conversations that have cropped up from the past recent years of like discrimination and fighting for trans rights, LGBTQ rights, period,
Mhm.
rights for anyone who's really disenfranchised at all, you know uh, I think that they point us in this direction, to be quite frank.
Mhm.
And I think as time goes on, we'll see that more and more. Yeah, yeah. That this just all of that just really just fucking gives me a brain gasm, man. I
Yeah,
love it.
I mean, I think that draws the strings together of a few things that you mentioned, like the death throes of a dying philosophy, the denial of science, any of those kind of things. They all go hand in hand with people being allowed, which is a weird word to use when it comes to people, but people being allowed to be themselves, right? Like as long as you fit within, the status quo's acceptable range of human expression, then you're allowed to do that. But if you fall outside of that, then you meet greater and greater resistance up until the point where, no one is free until black trans women are free, like that. I mean, and that's really what it comes down to. And like, for me, it's a no brainer. Like, you know, this is Jim. Now it's Jen. Okay. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, you you can call yourself my friend's daughter went from being one thing to being another thing. And it's like, okay. You like, and within the status quo structure, right? Like, you are not Greycraft. You are whatever, name that you go by when you're dealing with normies. But I will call you Greycraft because as far as I know, you're Greycraft. That's what you tell me your name is, so that's who you are. It is
Right.
real easy to do that. Like, Jim doesn't want to be called James. We accept these kind of things all the time. My friend, his nickname is Spider, and we call him Spider. Like, these are common occurrences. But we seem to have an issue when it's some person who is outside of that status quo area, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. But as far as the scientific aspect, like, people should be able to do them, right? Like, and this is why I love the Zoomers and the millennials, and all you youngers out here, like with the hair and the body modification and everything else. Like, those are choices, right? But they are also, in their way, reflections of how you wish to be perceived. And I'm not ascribing transness to choices in body modification, but they are adjacent to each other. They are ways of expressing to be more like the person that you see yourself as, if you could be the person that you see yourself as. Would you consider that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. And like that's the thing that kind of gets me about this whole thing anyways, is that like first of all, we're going to end up revisiting this unfortunately when body like augments end up becoming a
Oh
thing,
yeah.
right? When oh you fucking cyborgs, you know, and that's going to
Oh
become a
yeah.
slur or something. And it's just I mean, you really hit the nail on the head because like man, I remember when I was in middle school, and granted, this is a kind of a totally different thing, but it's somewhat same vein. I remember when I was in middle school, and like we had these like 3D avatar chat rooms, you know, like IMVU, Second Life, you know, where like you design a 3D avatar, whether it looks like you or you look like a furry, like whatever. That's the way you're perceived by other people. That's your fucking avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we just stop the disconnect for a second between us and the computer or whatever device that you use for the medium, and just realize that it's all one experience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're ending the realm of like this right here that is sitting in this chair is my avatar. It just happens to be made of flesh and not digital information.
Mm-hmm.
It's still an avatar. And sure, I might say this is my body, but that's a possessive term. I am not my body, right? So now we're going to get into like philosophy and like what is the person, what is personhood, what is a soul, whatever. Yada, yada, yada. That's a whole nother conversation. But
Well,
like,
real quick, just to interject, it's not even philosophy. Is you are your brain, right? Your brain is disconnected from the outside world. It gets its information through a variety of inputs.
yeah,
There is a much stronger argument, like physically, scientifically, to be made that this is an avatar and this is who I am. You know?
mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Oh, I mean, for fuck's sake, dude. And I make this comparison all the fucking time. The fact is that like frequencies and vibrations, right, enter my eyes. They bounce around the backs, and some information gets thrown through some electrical wires that's connected to this weird honking mass in my skull. And that decodes that information into now sight. And I can see my camera, and now you're seeing me look at you. And that's where that's what sight is. So
Mhm.
it's like, well, what the fuck? Who am I to say what is real or what is traditional or what is normal? And it's bro, you don't know what, you don't know shit. You don't know, you only know what you're perceiving, right? Which is why the whole perception is reality thing is the thing that people say.
Mhm.
But like just from that standpoint, you know, that's kind of where like my whole take on life in general comes in anyways, where it's like, you know, uh, I'm just an observer, man. You
Mhm.
know, like it's really not that big of a deal as long as it's not hurting people, and as long as it's not like I don't know causing war and destruction. You know, I'm cool with it, man. You know,
Mhm.
whatever. And as far as the information that we have now, as far as the studies and statistics and data that we've gathered, things like hormone blockers or trans affirmative therapy and healthcare, just like how this will be a conversation when it comes down to augmentation, implementation, fucking nanomachines and nanotechnology, all of these things. This is not just an advancement of humankind, but is a manifestation of what we've always been and have only been recently been able to manifest outwardly and have you be able to perceive it in the way that we've always wanted to be perceived. Like people 500 fucking years ago couldn't other than their outfits and maybe some makeup or something.
Mhm.
Nowadays we have what we have now. So I can only imagine another 100 years or so from now when people, I mean, fuck, dude, Cyberpunk 2077. Are you kidding me? Like, it's gonna be. I don't know. I don't understand how people could just be so dismissive and so I guess just viscerally, out of some visceral disgust, closed off from possibilities of what human beings could be. It's such a narrow view to just, and not only that, but like we've accomplished so much throughout humankind's history, and this is the last straw now. It's like, man, you're really demeaning and degrading what it means to be human. And that's why I couldn't really exactly entirely answer your question earlier when you asked me what it kind of means to be human, because like there's so much to what it means to be human that I can't put it in a box, and people will want to put that in a box. I don't want to do that, and I don't think it's right to. There's so much potential in us that we could do, and it's our duty, it's our obligation to see what we can and should and will do.
Yeah, no, I think that was excellent, because we're coming up on the hour, so I'm almost done. But I think that put a nice finish on what we're talking about. Like, that was excellent. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to touch on?
Oh man. I guess, I mean, just real quick, I mean, if anyone is hopeful for extraterrestrial colonization, going on other planets, like, I mean, scientists are already saying that we might need to like be part cyborg to even handle that anyways. We're made for Earth. So if you want to live on Mars, like Elon Musk is teasing you about, well, you may as well just get with the program and get you some robotic fucking organs or whatever the fuck anyways. So like, it's just grow the fuck up, okay? Be a cyborg if you want to be on another planet. Jesus Christ, dude. Other than that, not really. This is a wonderful fucking conversation. I would love to have another conversation with you anytime. Yeah, again, you can find me at twitch.tv/Graycraft.
Perfect. Yeah, I would definitely, I look forward to the next time we talk, because I also find that inevitable. Like, the circles that you and I both run in, we're going to run into each other again. So I look forward to the next time, and it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.
All right, take care.
You too.
All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. What the fuck is that now? Why is this even here? Is that a remnant? An artifact? Get the fuck out of here. I hope you enjoyed that conversation, whether you're in chat or watching on the VOD. I sure as hell did. I like exploring these concepts, and, as always, I will talk to anybody. So, if your favorite streamer touches on, AI, robotics, transhumanism, futurism, any of those kind of things, you want to put it in their ear to, reach out to me. I'm reaching out to people, but I can only do so much. You as chatters, you as viewers, you probably see a lot more people than I do, and, you can, maybe express that, hey, this guy likes to have conversations, and all the VODs are here, all the highlights are here. People can see what a conversation is like before they get in. And, I'm not an ambush gotcha type dude. I'm here to talk. We're gonna have talks. I like to talk. So in the meantime, tomorrow we're going to be talking with the member of the community, Phenomenauticus. So that'll be cool. And Phenomenauticus is a musician, so I'm going to be playing. They gave me a copy of their album. I like it. There's a band called Spice Lab that I really enjoy. And it reminds me of that kind of thing, like a EDM trance kind of, like, it's vibe music. And I dig it. In the meantime, we're gonna raid Paradigm, and like that. So tomorrow, Phenomenauticus. Friday, we're talking to Bing Princess. Saturday, we're talking to Supernatural Writer in a special weekend episode at 3 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you show up. Follow, subscribe, like, tell your friends, all the things. Give me the opportunity to reach more people. Share the VODs, share the highlights. Tell your streamers to holler at your boy. I'm real easy to talk to. Eat something. Drink your water. Take your meds if you forgot. Shoggy loves you. So do I.